think about homelessness in African Americans, we immediately think about disproportionality. What are the contributing factors? Well, one in particular stands out: racism, historic, systemic, institutional, structural racism.
Initially, when I came here almost 9 years ago, I was literally traumatized. I'd never seen anything like Skid Row. It looks like the slave motherships capsized right here in these concrete jungle.
There's a huge disparity in the number of Black people experiencing homelessness in Los Angeles County. While Black people make up 8% of the population, they make up roughly 34% of those experiencing homelessness.
As we were convening the Ad Hoc Committee, one of the things that we were very aware of was that if we were going to have a report that could actually be helpful and useful going forward, that it had to be inclusive.
We went across Los Angeles County doing listening sessions, hearing firsthand from people who have experienced homelessness, people from the community, and people that just really wanted to give input on what was working within the system, what wasn't working, and how it could better serve the communities.
On a very personal level, it inspired me to begin talking about my own intersectionality as a Black woman, as a CEO of a nonprofit organization that has been fighting homelessness and poverty for over 40 years. I really needed to begin to speak about my own racial trauma. And I also admitted during this process that my daughters and I had a time of being unhoused where we lived in a motel. And like many of the people that we serve, they have PhDs, they're MDs, they have degrees, they have successful lives, and then something bad happens and it affects the entire family, and some people don't make it back.
Well, this committee in and of itself was very important, and it provided a forum to do what hadn't been done before in Los Angeles, and for that matter in the nation. It was quite surprising to most of us that we could not find a document comparable to the report that was ultimately produced. And so what we did in Los Angeles has to be viewed as groundbreaking.
The report called out 67 recommendations, but there were 4 key components that were called out: employment, mass incarceration, housing discrimination, and child welfare. Those things need deep research and investigation on why some of those things are creating pathways for people to fall into homelessness.
We can no longer talk about equality and empowerment while continuing to enforce inequities.
I think one of the important takeaways for me was that it was not going to be enough to simply build more housing. But if we were going to be serious about this and committed to it, we had to go upstream. We had to identify where the failures were happening and address those, and reallocate resources to do that.
So I feel like I'm forever changed by my experience as a participant on the Ad Hoc Committee for Black People Experiencing Homelessness, and particularly working with Commissioner Bernard and Commissioner Waggoner. I mean, they were just so willing to allow the process to unfold. Their leadership was phenomenal, and I learned so much from them.
Jacqueline had a way of recognizing who was not being part of the conversations, or who may have had things to say that they had not shared in the group, and having those kind of offline conversations to make sure all of the voices was being heard.
It's been an honor and a privilege to work side by side with Commissioner Bernard. Being 2 Black women, having the opportunity to go into the community and listen firsthand about what people that look like me are experiencing and trying to be housed was a powerful lesson.
And the report, I think, provides a roadmap about how you could take a very complicated problem like homelessness and look at it through a racial equity lens, and then come up with recommendations that are informed through that lens.
We actually woke up a conversation that we've known about for a really long time. It was level setting for the sector to think about the importance of racial equity in strategies and practices. And what I'm most proud of is that a system owned its responsibility to self-reflect on what it could do to improve that. And I'm proud that other jurisdictions across the country are asking questions about it and they want to do the same, because that's really where change begins.
I am honored and humbled to accept this award from the Inner City Law Center, and I do it on behalf of the entire Ad Hoc Committee. It's not about me or about Jacqueline or even Lhasa, but it was really about creating a space to allow this kind of conversation to happen. And so I'm proud of that. I'm proud that the Inner City Law Center is recognizing the importance of that conversation and the work that we all did as a committee.
I'm really happy to accept the award on behalf of my fellow Ad Hoc Committee members. My parents always told me that you know you're doing a good job when your peers acknowledge your work. So this, to me, is close to my heart. So thank you so much for the honor to be here today.